Don't you miss traveling before the pandemic? Don't you miss the time where you could just pick up your bags and go? Right now, in the beginning of 2022, if you want to travel internationally, you have to have a visa and you have to do a quarantine. We touched on these topics in the last video, so if you want to watch that, you can click up here. But today we're going to expand on the quarantine process. So if you're going to be doing a quarantine anytime soon, we hope that this can make your quarantine a little bit more comfortable and that you know what's coming up for you.
In addition to what we talked about in the last video, we highly suggest you to book your quarantine hotel as early as you possibly can. We heard some people waited until the last minute to book their quarantine hotels, which left with them only a few choices to choose from, and they were forced to go way beyond their budget. So if you want to avoid unexpected expenses, book early. Booking in advance also gives you more room to adjust if anything goes wrong. 3 days before our departure, the hotel we first booked canceled on us.
Oh, can you send me the details of that hotel, like the price and the package? Thank you. Bye-bye. She'll help us get the booking at another hotel, but I can go online and talk to them, and if I need help with this, like any assistance, she'll help us. But she was very nice, but just like it just makes me a little bit worried, you know, like every step of the way something pops up and it's like, can't do it, or some problem, you know.
And we were very lucky to be able to book another hotel 2 days before our departure. Otherwise, we would have to cancel our entire plan.
You need your flight itinerary and a copy of your passport in order to book your quarantine hotel. The process is a little bit different from booking a normal hotel, because when you book a normal hotel, you only need to provide one person's name, whereas when you book a quarantine hotel, you need to provide every single person's detail who will be doing the quarantine. Otherwise, you will run into some issues when you arrive in Indonesia. The hotel might ask you to pay upfront when you are making the booking, or they will ask you to pay when you are doing the check-in. You will receive 2 documents when you get your booking confirmation. One will be your QR code and one will be the reservation confirmation. You need both these documents to enter Indonesia. Another tip is that if you are planning to travel as an unmarried couple, or if you're planning to travel with friends and you wish to share a room, then I would suggest you just double check with the hotel. Since Indonesia is a Muslim majority country, some hotels only allow family to share a room.
Quarantine hotels are generally more expensive than regular hotels. However, the cost of all your meals, as well as certain services, are included in that price. When it comes to quarantine hotels, the more expensive ones don't guarantee better services. We've heard so many horror stories happen in the more expensive quarantine hotels. People's food would always come late and cold, and they tasted really awful. We've also heard somebody's phone didn't work in his room. So can you imagine, you're in quarantine, can't go anywhere, and you can't even talk to the front desk. You can only starve in your room alone. But with that being said, the more expensive quarantine hotels are more likely to provide better services. For instance, they would allow you to reserve gym equipment, like what Ryan from OnwardTicket.com had. Ryan basically did 2 quarantines. The first one he did was back in February 2021. He didn't book it in advance, so he was served terrible food, and he fasted for 5 days. And this time, he booked a more expensive hotel much earlier, and his food was way better, and they even catered to his low-carb diet. He also got some dumbbells and an exercise bike for him to work out with. Here are some photos from Ryan.
But renting gym equipment was not a service our hotel provided, since we were staying in the airport hotel, which is simply just a transit hotel. While our hotel was relatively cheap and old, the service was absolutely great. Whenever we called reception, they would always answer within a couple of seconds, and when we requested some things to our room, they would always bring it within the next couple of minutes. When we complained about the Wi-Fi not being that great, they actually moved us to a room with better Wi-Fi signal.
Oh, that's small, eh? Well, that's it.
We'll manage.
Yeah, we will.
We'll survive. And the food, although it was quite simple, it was really tasty, and they always delivered it on time, if not early. There was also one day where we complained about the portion being quite small, and they actually got us KFC chicken. And similar to Ryan, we also tried to avoid carbs, and we asked the catering staff to please only give us meat and vegetables, and they catered to our needs quite perfectly. Yesterday, we asked them if they could give us just meat and vegetables, and they delivered. So this is our breakfast. I think it's chicken and just a whole lot of vegetables. We also asked for an extension cord and a scale, and this is what we got. We asked for an extension cord, and this is what we got. Just a whole bunch of these plugs put into a wooden box.
How much?
Hey!
How
just
much?
under 22.
Just under 22.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Although these are not normal requests that people actually ask for when staying in a hotel, they tried to their best of ability to give us what we asked for. With that being said, although more expensive hotels don't guarantee a better experience, I would suggest that you can book a room with either a balcony or a window that can be opened, because fresh air is always great. COVID is really unpredictable, but in my opinion, Indonesia is responding really fast, which sometimes means that the length of your quarantine might change. Sometimes it will be lengthened, and in other times it will be shortened. For us, for example, when we were coming here, it was just a 3-day quarantine, and then it was later bumped up to 7 days, and then bumped up to 10 days because of the Omicron variant.
Omicron variant.
Omicron.
Omicron variant.
Omicron numbers.
Omicron.
When we were coming here, we were like, okay, we're gonna do a 10-day quarantine, and then on the 3rd day of our quarantine, they actually knocked it down to 7 days. And our quarantine really wasn't that bad at all, so you most probably will have an even better time, because right now in February 2022, they've bumped it down to just 5 days. You'll have a PCR test on the second last morning of quarantine. They will do a nasal swab and a throat swab. And if you test negative, you'll be free to check out the next morning with a clearance in hand and a negative PCR. So we got the papers, negative test, and our release form from the hotel, so we can check out tomorrow. But if you test positive, then you will be taken to a government facility to do more quarantine. Hopefully you test negative, so stay safe out there.
And finally, here are some tips that we think you might find useful. Print out all the documents that you have, including the QR code, as well as your hotel booking confirmation. We had to show everything at the airport in China before our departure, as well as after we landed here in Jakarta. After you've been through every step at the airport and about to go to your quarantine hotel, you should ask the hotel staff whether they can come with you to get a SIM card or not. Because in our case, even though the hotel switched our room to another one with better Wi-Fi signals, we didn't have internet for the entire time. So if your quarantine hotel had a very bad internet, at least with a mobile SIM card, you can have some kind of entertainment for yourself.
A 7-day quarantine is not actually 7 days, but 5 full days. The first day when you arrive counts as your first day. Even though we arrived at night, it was still counted as our first day. And the second last day we had the PCR test, and when we got back the negative results, we were actually cleared to go and roam around the hotel that night. The next morning we checked out and we were free to go. So if you're doing a quarantine anytime soon, just be patient and get through the days that you have to do. It's really not that bad. Good luck and see you soon.